This is a true story, or at least it feels like one. In the heart of Detroit, inside a house left to rot, I found something that wasn't supposed to be remembered, and something that still calls me Daddy. They told me the place was condemned. That was the word they used, like a death sentence passed down on brick and timber. But for someone like me, that word didn't mean much. I'd already been condemned once before, when they zipped the body bag on my last overdose and unzipped it again only because my heart decided to keep fighting. This house, this broken husk at the end of Linwood Street, was like me, forgotten, fragile, and not entirely dead. It was January when I moved in. Gray skies, wind like razors, no neighbors in sight except a few boarded-up windows and one mangy black dog that stared at me from a car hood. I didn't have much. A military surplus duffel, a backpack full of tools, and a pocket Bible I found on a bus seat 2 years ago and never opened. And one rule I'd promised myself: stay clean, no matter what. The job was simple. A contractor named Wallace, guy with a neck tattoo that looked like it bit him more than he bit it, said if I gutted the inside, patched the roof, and made the pipes flow again, he'd pay me cash weekly. Said I could sleep there too.
Nobody's gonna bother you.
He laughed.
Hell, you might be the only living soul in that whole block.
He wasn't wrong. The first night, I set up a cot in what used to be a dining room. No electricity, just a camping lantern and the smell of old plaster and piss in the walls. Still, there was a peace to it. The kind of peace you find in a vacuum, when nothing expects anything from you. That was the first night I heard the footsteps. Not rats. Not creaking. Footsteps. Deliberate. Slow, like someone walking barefoot across dust-covered cement. I froze, holding the lantern toward the hallway. The sound came from beneath me. The basement. I tiptoed to the door across from the kitchen, the one with the rusted bolt on it. I hadn't opened it yet. I didn't even have the key. I stood there for a while, listening. Eventually, it stopped, and I told myself I was imagining things. Withdrawal makes your brain hungry for noise, for ghosts. I'd only been clean a month. Ghosts were just echoes of chemicals trying to come back. The next morning, I met the neighbor across the street. Or maybe met is the wrong word. She was already watching me when I stepped outside to piss. Old woman, maybe 70, with gray braids down to her chest and a green coat too big for her frame. She stood behind the half-shattered blinds like a portrait someone forgot to move. When I waved, she just lifted one hand slowly. Not a greeting, more like a warning. She mouthed something. I didn't catch it the first time, but I kept thinking about her face when she saw me come out that door. She looked like someone who just saw a grave open by itself. That night, the footsteps came again, and this time, I stayed awake to count them. 7 steps, pause, then 6 more, then nothing. I pressed my ear to the basement door. The wood was cold, colder than it should have been, and I heard something else, faint, like breathing, but it wasn't panicked or loud. It was patient. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat in the kitchen, drank instant coffee from a thermos, and stared at that basement door like it owed me something. Memories started bubbling, not of the house, but of things I'd rather forget. Voices yelling my name in clinics. A nurse praying over me when I flatlined. My mother's voice saying,
"I hope you're not someone else when you come back."
By the 4th night, I started seeing things that didn't belong. scratches near the basement door, long, parallel lines, a child's shoe in the empty upstairs closet, and a name carved into the door frame, Elise. I never knew an Elise. At least, I don't think I did, but the name felt familiar in a way that hurt, like tasting a food you don't remember loving until it's gone. That evening, I saw the neighbor again, this time on her porch, smoking. I crossed the street. She didn't flinch, didn't look surprised. Is there something in that house? I asked her. Her eyes didn't blink.
You let her talk to you yet?
She said. Who? She tapped her cigarette once on the railing.
Don't play dumb, boy. That basement's not empty.
I tried to sound sane. I haven't opened it. It's locked.
Good.
She said, and for the first time her voice cracked with emotion.
You keep it that way. You don't want to let her out. Some girls die wrong. Elise died wrong. Let her sleep.
I asked, did you know her? Her eyes welled, just for a second. Then she turned her back to me and said, almost like a prayer,
She's better down there.
Back inside, I stood before the basement door again. This time, I spoke to it. Elise, I whispered, are you there? No answer. But that night, my dreams changed. I was standing in the house, same hallway, same door, but I was different. Younger, stronger. I wore different clothes, old ones. 1980s maybe. There was a girl's voice calling from behind the door.
Please, don't leave me again.
I woke up with tears in my eyes, and the strangest thing, there was a key in my hand. I didn't remember picking up the key, didn't even know there was a key. It was heavy, old brass, ornate at the handle like something off a church gate. It sat in my palm like it had always belonged there. The logical thing would have been to throw it away, bury it in the snow, tell Wallace the basement was out of bounds, and go back to patching ceilings. But logic never kept me clean. Fear did, and right now, the only thing I feared more than the voice behind that door was the voice inside my head telling me to open it. That day, I didn't touch the key, just stared at it between shifts, scraping old tile, sweeping rat droppings into piles, stapling insulation into cracked walls. I even fixed a busted window frame in the upstairs bedroom, though I was sure no one would ever sleep there again. The house had a smell now, not just mold and mildew, something sweeter, like perfume. Faint, floral, a scent that made my knees buckle, not because it was bad, but because it was familiar. In the dreams, they kept coming. In one of them, I was in the kitchen, the same one I sat in now, but there was food on the table, lasagna still steaming, and a girl's laugh from the hallway. I walked toward it, and in the mirror by the door, I saw myself. But it wasn't me. He looked like me. Same jaw, same shoulders, but his eyes were clear, too clear, like they didn't know what heroin was. Like they never had to beg a stranger for $20 to stay warm one more night. Like they still believed in things. And the girl, I never saw her face, but I heard her whisper in the dream.
You promised, remember? You said you'd stay.
I woke up drenched in sweat, heart hammering. The key was under my pillow. I know what you're thinking. Withdrawal hallucinations, residual trauma, subconscious guilt playing dress up in dreamland. Maybe you're right, but when I got up that morning and checked the front door, there were wet footprints in the entryway, small ones, bare feet, leading to the basement door. I didn't open it yet, not that day, but I started remembering things that weren't mine. A red bicycle leaning against the porch, a birthday cake with 5 candles, an orange dress with a daisy pin near the collar. Little details, like static filling in the gaps of a broken radio. I wasn't just dreaming about Elise. I was remembering her. And worse, I was remembering her remembering me. Later that night, I tried calling Wallace, just to talk, just to ask if anything ever happened here, if anyone ever lived here. No answer, straight to voicemail. I went to the corner store for a coffee. Old man behind the glass window asked if I was the fella fixin' up 1362 Linwood. I nodded. He went quiet, then said,
You tell her to let you be. Why here?
Who? He shook his head.
Always the same with that house. They go in, they start talking in their sleep. They stop being themselves. Then they leave, or don't.
That night I gave in. I unlocked the basement door. The key turned like it had been waiting. Click, soft and satisfied. I opened it. The air was dry. Cold, the kind that doesn't just chill your skin but settles in your ribs. I turned on my lantern. Dust danced in the light like snowflakes. The stairs creaked but held. At the bottom was a concrete room, shelves lined with old paint cans, a rusted furnace, and behind it all, a child's chair, bright yellow, clean. The only clean thing down there. I walked around the room, said her name again, Elise. And then movement, not in the room, inside me. A pressure like my chest had just inhaled something heavy and unseen, and then the whisper again, but not in my ears, in my thoughts.
We were happy once.
I ran, tripped halfway up the stairs and nearly shattered the lantern, slammed the door, bolted it shut, but something followed me up, not a shape, not a sound. A memory. Of her hand in mine, of her smile missing a tooth, of me, not this me, but him, telling her it would all be okay. But she knew better. She always knew better. I slept with the Bible that night, didn't read it, just held it, like maybe it could still keep something out. But the dreams, they got worse. Now, I wasn't seeing the other life, I was living it. Every night I came home to Elise. She'd greet me at the door. I'd scoop her up. We'd eat dinner, watch cartoons, laugh. And every night ended the same. Smoke, screams, a door slamming shut, and Elise on the other side, begging, screaming for me not to leave. Then darkness. Then waking to this broken house, to snow and silence, to a basement that wasn't empty anymore. I started doing things I don't remember doing. Leaving the kitchen light on, unpacking boxes I never touched, making 2 plates at dinner and eating only 1. I found drawings in the living room, crayon sketches, stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands under a crooked sun. I live alone, I work alone, and I sure as hell don't draw. But there they were, every morning, a new one. Always the same signature in the corner, Elise, and beneath that, in shaky child's handwriting, for Daddy. I stopped working, didn't even call Wallace, didn't leave the house. I sat on the floor most days, holding those drawings in my lap, staring at the door to the basement like it was the only real thing in the world. At some point, I stopped checking my phone, stopped eating, stopped being me. Because somewhere in those days, I don't know when, I started thinking like him, like the other me, the father. And that's when she stopped whispering and started speaking.
You forgot me.
It was just a whisper at first at the edge of sleep, or behind me when I turned on the shower, but then came the voice in the walls.
You said we'd be okay. You promised. Where did you go?
I tried writing it all down. Thought if I put it on paper, it'd feel less like a possession and more like a problem. But when I opened the notebook, the first page already had writing. Child's handwriting again. This time, just one sentence. If you leave again, I'll keep you. I couldn't sleep. The dreams became memories. The memories became my life. I'd wake up crying and not know why, or I'd laugh out loud at something she said, even if no one else heard it. She wasn't in the basement anymore. She was in the mirrors, the hallway, my thoughts. I started forgetting things, not old things, new ones. I couldn't remember the last time I checked in with my sponsor. I couldn't remember what city I was in, or what month it was, or even why I came here in the first place. But I remembered Elise. I remembered her favorite cereal, the way she hated wearing socks, the way she called the moon Night's Eye. I remembered carrying her upstairs when she fell asleep on the couch, tucking her in, kissing her forehead, telling her I'd always protect her. There's something awful about loving someone you don't remember raising, like a photo album you've never seen, but every image makes your chest ache, a love built on stolen bones. One night, I tried to leave. I packed a bag, walked out into the snow, made it 3 blocks before I collapsed. I woke up in the basement. The yellow chair in front of me, the door at the top of the stairs locked from the outside. There was no food, no water, just a child's voice, calm and close.
Now you know how it feels.
I screamed. I begged. I cried until I had no voice left. And then she came. A small shape, walking down the stairs in the dark, lantern in hand, hair covering her face. She didn't look up. She just stood there, waiting. I didn't ask who she was. I knew. Why are you doing this? I asked. She lifted her face. She had my eyes.
You forgot me, but I didn't forget you.
I opened my mouth. No sound came out.
I waited here. I kept the house clean. I kept you.
Her voice dropped to a whisper.
You left. And the house remembered.
Then she turned, climbed the stairs, the lantern light vanished. I waited in the dark. 1 day, 2, I think 3. And then the door creaked open again. But it wasn't Elise this time. It was me. The man at the top of the stairs wore my clothes, had my walk, my scar, but it wasn't me. He looked down at me with tired eyes, tilted his head the way I used to in the mirror, and then he smiled.
Sleep well?
He asked. His voice, it had weight, like it had grown in my throat, but belonged to something deeper. I tried to stand, but my legs buckled, tried to scream, but only a whimper came out. He crouched down, stared into my face like it was an old photo.
You're fading.
He whispered.
She doesn't need you anymore.
He stood and turned to leave. Elise, I rasped. He paused.
She's not yours, not anymore.
Then the door slammed shut. I woke on the living room couch. Mid-afternoon light, a blanket over me. The TV was on, cartoons playing softly. The drawings were gone, the notebook too. Even the smell of mold had lifted. The house looked lived in. Then I saw her. Elise, wearing a blue sweater I didn't recognize, hair in braids, sitting cross-legged on the floor, coloring. She looked up at me.
Hi, Daddy.
I nodded, felt the words in my mouth, but they weren't mine. Hey, Bug, I heard myself say. We had dinner. We watched a movie. I tucked her in upstairs. The second bedroom, where all the dust had been, was now hers. Posters on the wall, a stuffed rabbit in the bed. She looked so real. But I didn't feel real. I stood in front of the hallway mirror that night. The reflection smiled before I did, tilted its head before I thought to move. Then it spoke. You see, you're just one of the many. I stepped back, my throat tightened. The reflection stepped forward. You weren't the first to come here. You won't be the last. She needs a father. And this house, it grinned wider, always provides. I tried to run, but the door was gone. Literally gone. Just smooth plaster where the entrance used to be. No windows, no way out. Days passed. Or hours. I don't know. I'd wake up and she'd be older. First 5, then 6. One morning she came down the stairs and said she was 7. Every version remembered me. Every version called me Daddy. And I remembered, too, things I never lived. Trips to the zoo, Sunday pancakes, fevered nights with cold cloths on her head. I knew her favorite songs, her nightmares, her laugh. But none of it was mine, it was his. The mirror started showing him more often, watching, smiling, sometimes whispering to Elise when she passed it. She didn't seem to notice. I tried one last thing. I snuck into the basement. The door was open now. It wanted me to go back. I brought a hammer, matches. I thought maybe if I burned it down. But all I found in the basement was a pile of shoes, men's shoes, dozens, all in a neat row, all identical to mine. A yellow chair in the corner, and on the wall, children's drawings, taped up like a gallery. Everyone signed Elise. Everyone said the same thing. Thank you for staying. I left the basement in silence, walked up the stairs, back into the house. She was waiting on the couch, a little older now, maybe 8, reading a book. She looked up at me, smiled.
Love you, Daddy.
I sat beside her, nodded, felt the words coming again. I love you too, Bug. Even if she isn't mine, even if I don't remember, even if I never leave this house again. Because maybe, just maybe, I never did. If you've ever heard footsteps in an empty house, you know some things don't want to be forgotten. Subscribe to Whispers in the Shadows for more haunted truths, and tell us, what would you do if the ghost knew your name?